whenever you're ready to start.
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:35. And I'm going to call the roll. Councilmember Camille Cazzaretti. She is here. Councilmember Antonia Ferraro. Yes, I'm here. Councilmember Tia Shelsteed. Tia Shelsteed.
Here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Bess Abrams.
Here.
Kimberly Scott.
Here.
Katia Rumbert.
Present.
Claudia Lechuga. Claudia Lechuga. Mark Bizzard.
Present.
Yvonne Banda. Yvonne Banda. Crystal Kaysen. Crystal Kaysen. Okay, I'm just taking some notes here. And Superintendent Scott.
Present.
Great.
Claudia, I just joined as well. Sorry, I'm running late.
Oh, okay, great. Great. Wonderful.
Yvonne again.
Should I call for Yvonne? Is Yvonne here? No, no Yvonne.
All right. He was just emailing, so he's around.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be here shortly. Seda, do you need me to hit record or we're recording? Okay, great. All right, welcome everybody. Please sign into the attendance sheet, which is linked in the chat. And if someone from interpretation could please interpret the call to sign the attendance sheet.
This is Luciano, the Spanish interpreter. Hola a todos, buenas noches. Por favor, a todos los presentes, si necesitan interpretación en español, llamen al 347-966-4114 e introduzcan la clave en el chat. Y por favor, recuerden firmar la hoja de asistencia. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Do we have only Spanish translation tonight? I guess we only have Spanish translation tonight.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, just Spanish tonight.
Okay. Should we turn the floor over to them? Do they need to make more announcements than that?
I already made the announcement with a phone number and go here.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I will now read the introduction to CEC15. Thank you all for coming to District 15's Community Education Council tonight. We appreciate your time and are glad you could join us. For those of you who are new to CEC meetings, there are 32 CECs throughout the city, plus 4 citywide councils. Each CEC represents a community school district, and each is made up of 11 volunteer members, 9 of whom are elected by PTA leaders in the district. The remaining members are appointed by the Brooklyn Borough President. CEC15 is a state-mandated public body responsible for ensuring that public school parents and the public have input in educational decisions that are made at the school district level. Our council reviews education policies and advocates for high-quality education that benefit all of our District 15 public elementary and middle school students. There are 35 elementary and middle schools in District 15. CEC members serve in an advisory role on education matters to the district superintendent, the chancellor of the Department of Education, and elected officials. We approve district school zoning lines submitted by the Department of Education. We evaluate our district superintendent. We review the district's educational programs, and we support school leadership teams. We also submit recommendations for the School Construction Authority's annual capital plan. In conjunction with the DOE, we hold joint public hearings on proposals affecting schools in our district. Currently, we are working with the DOE to collaboratively and effectively rezone 7 schools in subzone 3. We actively seek input and feedback from the public and encourage you to visit our website, cecd15.org, and take a look at our Facebook page and write to us about any issues you may want to address or learn about. All of our names and contact info are available on our website. This is just another reminder to please sign the attendance sheet if you haven't already, and I will hand it over to Katia for the teleconferencing protocol. Thank you.
Thank you, Antonia. Good evening, everyone. Teleconference protocol. Due to COVID-19 health crisis, CEC15 will be practicing social distancing. We will be conducting meetings through teleconferencing until further notice. Tonight's calendar meeting will include a public comment period so that we may allow for additional feedback from our school communities. The general rules of engagement. For your own privacy, we ask that you turn off your camera and please use audio only. Please also sign in to the Google Doc link in the chat. When you comment, please respect the privacy of others. Please do not include names of children or staff. The public comment period is meant for comments, but as is customary, CEC15 wants to hear your comments and concerns and help you get them addressed as needed. When answers cannot be given in session, we'll provide them in our weekly e-blast or in upcoming meetings. Please sign up for CEC emails at cec15@schools.nyc.gov. Public comments. If you wish to comment, please identify yourself by using the raise hand feature. Please include your question and contact information in the chat. If you are calling in, please press *9 to comment. We'll call on you by the last 4 digits of your phone number. Speakers will be called on one at a time and will be allowed 1 minute each for comment. Speakers will be prioritized by the sign-in sheet, via the chat, or by emailing cec15@schools.nyc.gov prior to the meeting. We will hear as many speakers as time allows. If you prefer not to speak, but would still like to submit your question or comment, it is possible that not every question will be given time, so the best way to get your questions answered is always to write to the CEC. Please remember to use our chat to use the attendance sheet to sign in. I'll turn the floor over to Camille.
Hey everybody, welcome to the CEC15 calendar meeting for January. I will turn the floor over to Bess for a quick approval of the minutes, and then we are going to have a CCEC election presentation, which is really exciting. So Bess, you ready?
Yep. Hi, everybody. Thanks for a lot of the last minute edits. I hope everyone had a chance to look at the December 8th and December 12th minutes. We resolved the majority of the questions. They were, for those of you who didn't have a chance, quick tweaks on what the different liaison representatives said their schools needed. Some of the language we wanted clarified. And that was on December 8th and December 12th. Camille was able to reach out to Superintendent Scott to make sure her words were represented and a few other things. So I believe they're in good shape. Did anyone have, both of them, did anyone have any concerns? No? Okay. Thank you for taking the time. I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes for December 8th. Did anyone second that?
I'll second that, Bess.
Thank you.
It's Katia.
Katia, thank you so much. I guess we do a roll call again?
Sure.
Okay, Camille Casaretti.
Approve.
I'm just looking at my screen. Antonia,
Yes.
Katia,
Yes.
Claudia,
Yes.
Tia,
Yes.
Kimberly,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Did I miss anyone? Ivan, you there?
I don't think he's here.
All right. Did I miss anybody? I'm sorry. Okay, approved unanimously. I would also like a motion to approve the December 12th minutes. Would anyone
I
like?
will second that motion.
And who is that? Is that Tia?
Antonia?
Antonia. Okay. I'll work backwards. Tia. Sorry, guys. Tia, do you approve of the minute for December 12th?
Yes.
Antonia,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Camille,
Yes, I do.
Kimberly,
Yes.
Claudia,
I approve.
thank you, Katia,
I approve.
all right, and myself. Thank you. That's it.
So I am very happy and excited to announce that CEC elections are coming close, and this is an amazing opportunity for all members of our school community, parents, to get involved and do this fantastic work. CEC15 is here to answer any of your questions about goals or expectations or how this amazing volunteer opportunity works. And we have Ms. Sheree Gibson with us today, who is a consultant with the Department of Education. She's working on the 2021 election outreach team. Sheree, thank you so much for coming tonight. Really excited to hear what you have to say and see the presentation. And I see that you have been made a co-host, so take it away.
Good evening. Thank you, Camille. Good evening, CEC15 council members and the District 15 community. I thank you for being here and welcoming me and giving me the opportunity to provide information to you about the upcoming community and citywide education councils. So if you give me a moment, I'll share my screen and, and we'll get going. As you imagine, I've been making presentations, several a day, and my voice starts to go this evening, so bear with me. Okay, you should be able to see my slide on the screen.
Yep.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So, as you know, you guys are here, so you know you're already invested in your community's Community Education Council, and you know that elections are every 2 years. So what's the big deal, right? Why we're all here pushing this year? So the big deal this year is due to advocacy of CEC members that they were able to change New York state law to allow for more families to vote, to be a part of the process. So now that instead of 3 members of the PTA being the voters, now every family gets a vote. And so the voter base has now increased from a few 10,000 to, or 5,000 I heard today was the max, to 1.2 million. So we now have the ability to have at least 1.2 million votes cast. So we had to find a way that how are we going to do this? How are we going to vet parents and how are they going to be able to apply and vote? So DOE, looking at their existing platforms, decided to use their New York City Schools account, which you've heard is NYCSA account, NYXA, or the URL that's parents sign in by mystudent.nyc. So the My Student, not My Schools, My Student. But I will discuss the confusion on that one a little further in the presentation. So what you need to understand about education councils and this program, it's one of, if not the largest, parent engagement programs in the country. It gives parents a direct opportunity to have a real impact on schools in their districts and in their community. It allows you to be a voice for the parents in your community. And so we want parents to understand the role of education councils and how they can serve, and then consider running as well as voting in the election. So quickly, Education Council, there are 36 education councils in New York City, 32 for each community school district, and 4 citywides. I do a big push for the citywides because this is the one area that a lot of people don't always know about, the citywide councils. There are 4 that are directly representative of a specific population. So we have a citywide for high schools, English language learners, and 2 that serve students with disabilities. The Community Education Council makeup is has 11 members, 9 are elected, and 2 appointees. Of the 9 parents that are elected, there are 2 reserved seats, 1 for a parent of an English language learner and 1 for special education. And so we do ask for a little push and help here in terms of if you know parents or you are one of those parents that fill this, please consider running. Across the city, there's too many times that the 2 seats stay open on a council because parents don't step up, and we want to make sure that happens. I heard at the beginning of the meeting, they're discussing what the council work is. So you guys know what your council work is, and they're out here now doing the work for you. The citywides, their makeups are similar to it, except for maybe Citywide Council of High Schools, CCHS, has 13 members, 10 parents, and 3 appointees. There are 2 high school parents elected from each borough. And then the English language learners, also known as CCEL, and CCSE, which is special education, and the Citywide Council on District 75, both have 11 members, 9 parents elected, and 2 appointees. So we also want to emphasize that each council has a seat for 1 non-voting appointed high school senior, appointed. And so if you currently have a high school junior who may be looking for an opportunity to learn something new or to way to engage and become active, consider having them apply to be the high school senior. I've talked to quite a few high school seniors who served, and they thought they've really found it a really good opportunity. They learned a lot, and it looks good on a college application or resume. So how do you know which councils that you're eligible to run for or to vote in? And so eligibility is driven by your student. Wherever your student goes to school and whatever programs that your student is involved in is determines which councils you're able to run in as well as vote in. So using the example on my slide, Nia has a daughter who's a 4th grader with an IEP in a District 15 school. Nia also has a son who's a 9th grader in a Bronx high school. So Nia would be eligible to run for 3 councils, run or vote in 3 councils, CEC 15, the Citywide for Special Education, and the Citywide for High School. As well as Vladimir has a 7th grader in a District 7 school who's an English language learner. So he would have 2 councils that he could run in or vote in, CEC 7 or the Citywide Council of English Language Learners. Now I'm going to pause here for a moment just to clarify. In this example, we're just using 1 parent as the example, but if it is a 2-parent household, either parent can run. If both parents choose to run, only one will be seated on the council, as the one's same school rule still applies. So only 1 person from the school will be seated on the council, but either parent can run. Now, when it comes to voting, only 1 parent would be able to lodge the vote through your New York City Schools account. But it's a family that votes, so we would hope that they would come together and make a decision as a family. Our timeline. So the candidate applications, I can't believe it's here, opens on Monday, February 1st at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. on February 1st, the application opens, and we'll be running all the way through through February 28th. This will be the only window to apply to run. And the application, of course, as we stated, is through your New York City Schools account. Then from March 15th to April 30th, each district's president's council will be hosting candidate forums. Typically, they've done in the past, we've done this in person. They will be virtual this year, and with support from FACE technical logistical support, each council will host the candidate forums, which will allow the community to come together to hear to see who's running, hear what they have to say, hear their platform, their vision, as well as ask questions. Then on May 1st, the voting opens. Voting is mandated by New York state law. So from May 1st through May 11th, we'll be voting. After Once voting closes, if there's any need for a runoff in any election, that happens right after, to be able, and we get all of that cleared up, to be able to post the results by the end of May. And then on Saturday, June 26th, that will be the orientation for our newly elected officials who, after orientation on the same day, take their oath of office to be able to begin their new 2-year term, July 1st to June 30th of 2023. So how can you participate? So the first step, to be able to run or even to vote, you have to link your children to your New York City Schools account, the NYCSA. Some of us may have started accounts and we think it, but if you don't look in the account and see your student's name and information, it's not linked to your student. The way you link to your student is to get a creation code from your parent coordinator, right? Please, we emphasize the New York City Schools account is the only way that parents can run to apply and that they will vote in May. So here is an example. We have created a parent NYCSA setup guide, which is a visual step-by-step of how you can go about setting up your setting up your account. I will put the actual guide. We have an English and a Spanish version in the chat once I finish, so you can have it if you need it to walk through. If you need any help, if you get started and you can't finish, please reach out to your parent coordinator. But once again, to start, you need 3 things. You need your email. You have to have an email address. You need your student's OSIS or their student ID number, and you need the creation code from your parent coordinator. And I just want to show inside many people are like, okay, why do I need this New York City Schools account? It is quickly becoming the one-stop shop for the central DOE to communicate directly with families. So right now it is a resource for your students' education information. So your grades are in there, any assessments, IEP information is in there, transportation, you can make changes to your mailing address, email address. This allows you to do that. And once more people get signed up into it, DOE will start using it as a way of communicating the emails or posting things inside the NYCSA for families to be able to access. Later in the month of February, they stated that the promotion and doubt information will be released in the NYCSA this year. So it's the account that we all want to have. It follows our student all through their time at in DOE, the DOE system. I do want to mention that there is a difference between this account, the New York City Schools account, My Student, and My Schools. There is a My Schools account that if you are applying for kindergarten, middle school, or high school, you're dealing with that account as well. The My Schools has its own creation code and own information, and it is getting confusing for families, so we want to make sure. So I always emphasize, My School is about enrollment and admissions. NYCSA, or the My Student, is all about your student and their information. So in some form of faction, we will all have both of these accounts, but right now everyone needs the NYCSA, and only those who are applying for kindergarten, middle school, or high school need their My Schools. So how we can actually to continue your participation, you've already increased your education council knowledge, you're here. So maybe visit a citywide, see what if there's interest for you, and just please continue to spread the word. Talk to your family, talk to fellow parents about getting more involved, and remind them that the candidate application opens February 1st at 9 a.m. and that they should truly consider running. So if there's any questions, I can take any questions now that you may have online or in the chat, but also please note this is our email. This is our main email. If there's any questions, you can submit it there and we get back to you usually within the same day or within 24 hours. And that's
Sheree,
my
thank you.
spiel.
Thank you so much, Sheree. Katia typically does our moderating of questions. Katia, are you okay? You want to?
Yes, I'll do a roll call for questions. Camille, do you have any questions?
Yes, I have a couple of things. So Sheree, I'm super, super glad and grateful that you made an announcement about that training date, the Saturday in June. I think you said it was the 26th. I think that people don't actually realize how very important that date is, and that should you be elected to the CEC or one of the citywide councils, that is a full day of training, and there is so much information that comes out of that training. It's somewhat difficult to catch up if you miss it. So serious candidates, I would implore you to please save that date. Do not schedule a graduation event on that day or any other major family event, please. With any luck, we'll be able to have family events by then. But so please just recognize that that's a very important date, Saturday, June 26th. And okay, so that was one thing. And then the other thing is regarding campaigning. Could you speak a little bit about that? Because we, in the past, didn't really do that in any major way. It was very short and sweet. So if you could just kind of do a review of that quickly.
So yeah, so the campaigning definitely changes a little for this year because we are now in a virtual space. And so it is providing some guidance on what is allowable or doable in this term. So we actually have just been meeting with an elections work group composed of CEC members, past and current, and President's Council members to get information and guidance and on that. And so hopefully we'll have that out next week along with since the application opens, but pretty much what has been happening. The same way there's certain things you couldn't do inside a school building, you still can't do right in the school building, as well as what is considered school space. So like SLT meetings, PTA meetings, and there's certain campaigning that won't be allowed on those spaces because it's, as everyone sees it, they're an extension of the school. So hopefully we'll send that out. We'll send it to you guys we'll send it to everybody, but we'll make sure you guys get it as well. And this way, if there's any questions or anything, you can have me come back on, or I can answer any questions via email. I saw a question about the presentation. Yes, I can provide a copy to the CEC who can send it out.
Thank you, Sheree. I'm so glad that you're here, by the way.
Thank you, Tia.
Okay, so hey, Sheree. Antonia, do you have any questions for Sheree?
Yeah, you mentioned that some of these seats often stay vacant. And in fact, on our council, we have a vacant ELL seat. We've had a lot of difficulty making outreach. We've made tremendous efforts, but we have not been successful. So I'm wondering what kinds of outreach FACE is going to potentially do to potential candidates.
Good question. And you got the right one for it too, because on the outreach team, we all have, like, I've got Brooklyn, we all have parts, but I also have the Citywide Council for English Language Learners. And so we are working with the Division of Multi-Language Learners to be able to get information directly out to those families that are impacted directly. They have a lot of events and vehicles that they use to communicate with them. So we'll be doing specific outreach to them, and hopefully that has never previously been done. So we're hoping that will help in terms of getting information out, providing information in their languages, as well as explaining about these councils to them, and hoping that increases their participation. But I will also have to say that we've been presenting to parent coordinators and family leadership, family FLCs and FSCs, the family leadership and support coordinators. And we've been asking them and pointing to me as if you know parents that fit this bill, please, mention it to them, send them the information, have them consider running for this. So we're hoping with a little bit more focus on finding ELA parents that want to step up, that we'll be able to increase that and not have open seats on councils.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Tia, would you have a question?
Thanks. Antonia asked the question I was going to ask. I mean, I appreciate that the DOE is going to be reaching out to multilingual families. Um, are there efforts to reach out to other kinds of families that haven't been traditionally represented in CECs also?
Such as example of,
Well, like our CEC only has representation from Red Hook and Sunset Park for the first time. I'm not as familiar with other CECs, but you know, we're hoping that all the CECs in the city are really expanding their representation also.
yeah. So I think in terms of that, one of the things that we're doing on the outreach team is definitely reaching out to you guys as parent leaders to be able to share with us the outside of DOE spaces. So if you know there's a community board meeting coming up, or if you know there's an organization within your community that has a lot of families on, sharing that information with us, and then or even getting us a spot on their agenda or at their event to present to, because that's how you make it personal to your community, right? Like they know there's a couple of communities that have communities focused family groups, you know, around a specific issue or concern that we've presented to, and they're like, wow, we never even heard about these education councils, and you know, well, thank you, we'll take a look, and kind of thing. So if you know there's a group out there that's an event or anywhere that you want me to send information to, please, I'll put my information in the chat, send it to me, because we will definitely reach out if we can over this process. This is all we've been doing for the past 2 months, is making presentations, getting the word out. But we also will be having information sessions throughout February, where parents can come on and get information on their time. And so we'll definitely release that schedule to you guys as well, and you can share that with your community and other groups. And then this way they can come on and get the information, ask questions during those sessions. And they will be in other languages as well. So we'll send a full schedule.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, thank you. Bess, would you have a question?
Yeah, I do. I have 3 questions. Hi, thank you very much for your very informative presentation. And it kind of follows well with what we've been talking about in terms of getting more representation. You mentioned that this guide, which I thought is great, the NYCSA, or your guide, is in Spanish and English, but what about other languages?
So we have it into translation and interpretation to translate. We're just waiting for them to provide the other languages. We're hoping that they get it to us this week so we can post them. But we will continue. We are posting them on our website as well as sending it out when we get the other languages.
But one way, as we're all virtual, is to send to nonprofits in different neighborhoods. As long as we have that link, that would be the appropriate.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, the second question I just had was, and maybe it's been touched on, but like explaining a little bit the scope or the encatchment, I don't know, I think that's the right word, the encatchment difference between the citywide special ed seat and the D75. So like, what would it mean, the difference for people, right?
Gotcha. So if you're within your community on the CEC, you would be representing on District 15, you would be representing for that community there. If you sit on the citywide, you would be discussing issues on a citywide basis, like what is going on, hearing issues from all over the city, as well as bringing your community's issues to that table, as well as, so whereas CECs directly work with the superintendents, the citywides don't, like the CECs evaluate and they collaborate with the superintendents. The citywides, they write policy papers that are overall, that are sent directly up to DOE Central. And so they don't have a superintendent, they truly impact and advocate directly with the cabinet, with the chancellor, to influence policy. And so that's another reason of definitely getting people on the citywides, so they can bring those issues and speak to it with that report. They do an annual report, that's what it's called, an annual report each year, specifically representing their district, their community.
Sorry, and just to follow up, what I was also hoping to understand for folks, so there's a citywide for D75 schools, right? And there's a citywide for special ed. So they're broken up. So it's double represent, but there is overlay with people in those schools. So how can we advocate for family, interested people to know that difference between D75 and
Right.
citywide and special ed?
Yep. So the citywide council for D75 is, you would have to be a D75 parent and stuff. So that's who serves specifically to always the larger broad of a special education, but they specifically advocate for D75 sites and programs and, around that age. But then they could also be a citywide for special education, which is the larger everybody, not just
Right. So
D75.
like it's even a bigger umbrella.
Yes.
Okay, I got it. And then my last question is, it's just, I just want to make sure, but you had mentioned that, if there's two people in a household that one can run, do you also mean legal guardian? It doesn't have to be a.
Yes. So DOE defines parent/legal guardian. So you can be the legal guardian and be, especially we've had like foster care stuff. You can be a legal guardian and run. It's parent. We say parent, but it's parent/legal guardian, and you can run or vote. But what I do want to make clear about the voting, if it's a 2-parent household or 2 custodial, which, let me just clear, the NYCSA, the New York City Schools account, is coded by what's in ATS. So whatever is in the ATS system as who's the custodial, who's the guardian, that's what's coded in NYCSA. And one parent, if there's a 2-parent household, one parent is the one that in NYCSA will be coded as the voter that can actually put in the vote. So every family has a vote, not each individual parent. So it's one child, one vote. So every family gets a vote for their children. If you have 3 children, you get 3 votes for the councils that are attached to that child, right? But it's not each parent gets a vote at this time. No problem.
Very helpful. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Kimberly, would you have a question?
Yes, I do. A quick one. Can you just go through again the logistics of voting? So it's through the NYCSA account that you do the voting, and what is the time period, and do you get notified? And so just a little bit more of the logistics in that.
So voting opens May 1st, and run up to voting, we will send out every information that the voting is opening, voting is open. When May 1st happens, voting opens, and what happens is that you sign into your New York City Schools account, and then on the top there will be a banner about community education councils. You click that and you'll be taken to the online voting site. And why it's important is there's no other way to access the online voting site. And when you sign in through your NYCSA, it's verifying that you're a parent, because the information that it's going to pull up is going to be your students' information, and it's going to be the councils that you are eligible for based on that student information. So when you log in, you're not going to have to figure out what councils you are. The councils are going to be listed there with your student linked to whichever councils they are. So some people will have like 5 councils in there. Some might just have 1 and stuff. But once you log in through your NYCSA, it'll come up, and then you just click through and go through the process of voting. It's actually, we're waiting for it to to finish their behind the scenes creating so we can show screenshots of it for people to, but it's a very simple user-friendly system.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, I don't have a question. Claudia, would you have one?
No, it was addressed, just that I appreciate if and when you're able to add your email to that, and thank you for offering for us to send you information, or at least forms by which you can present at. And that was my rationale for also asking for the presentation, just to try to share it more widely, at least just those overview, and that the timeline that you just described, I think was on those slides too, to share it more widely, like everyone said, to make sure that we have as diverse and wide representation as possible. So thank you.
And I saw a question in the chat. If you're running, can you vote? Yes.
Thank you, Sheree. Okay, Mark, would you have a question?
Yeah, I got a couple. I guess it's tricky. The question about one vote per child for families of divorce. How does that work?
So at this time, it would be whoever is coded as the custodial guardian in the ATS is that person will be the one that gets the vote. And I know as families of divorce, touchy, I don't know the situation, but as a family, they would have to come together and vote on it. Sometimes what we've suggested is like, if there's more than one council, maybe one parent gets to vote and one and another. But right now, as it stands, is the way they're able to do it and moving forward, it would just be the family. So one person logs the vote, but we're hoping that they do talk to each other and come to an agreement about who they could vote. Yeah, it's tricky, but
I had two other questions. One, you mentioned, I think you mentioned that these are elections with a big E and are subject to New York election law.
Well, they're subject to New York State education law, not election law.
Okay, so yeah. We don't have to worry. I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm actually have an 8th grader sending, so I'm not running again. So, but
there's high school, Mark. There's high school. No.
But there is a lot of fear when you're running. Like, oh my gosh, if I print a flyer, I'm going to get yelled at, or those things. Because that's what happened when I ran. It was very intimidating to kind of do that, and people were very aggressive about campaigning. And I think people should really get their name out there, but parents don't have to worry about fundraising and printing out, and those type of things.
No, you don't have to worry about that. Well, you can, right? Because now here's one of the issues that people are talking, because you have a bigger voter base, right? When it was just the PA or PTA, you could just go to our president's council, or you could get, kind of thing. But now you have a bigger base. So it's, how do you get families to know that you're running and that you're here? So yeah, you might do flyers, but mostly everybody that has been talking about it, it's the virtual space. How do you get your name out in virtual space? So you don't have to fundraise. It's within your, it's an elected official position, but it's your parent power and what and who's connected and getting that information out. But you can print flyers, you can think, but
that's what I think it'd be helpful for parents to feel, because it is more people. There is a little bit more exposure. It would be helpful to make sure, we want as many parents to run as we can. We want them to feel safe running, and that they don't trip into any sort of crazy election law violations by, someone getting a check, or kind of someone doing something for somebody. These are goofy things. So it'd be helpful to see that. The other thing is, in terms of, I presume all of people's kids are going to be locked into their schools at the time of election. And that's all known. Like, I'm not gonna, my vote is gonna be for D15, and I can't move at the time of this election. The timing is right. That works. Okay. And I guess the last big question I have was, during these things, privilege does tend to manifest. So those people who are mobilized, those affluent families who have time, those families who are good at technology, really have a great opportunity to get elected in a way that is sometimes inequitable. What is the DOE specifically doing to find those parents across all the spectrum, to kind of get them involved? And I know specifically, some principals don't love to broadcast their PTAs and SLTs because they don't want somebody on the CEC, right? Or so, you know, is our superintendent, is the chancellor sending notes down to each PTA person and each SLT person that this is happening? Or does the CEC15, should we be sending personal messages to the PTA presidents and the SLT leads that we need the best of you, and can we get in your local newsletter?
So
How's that working?
your
Can we trust
your
the
soup
system?
is answering one of those questions already. So yes, we do put out information to the field staff, which is the superintendents and the borough offices, as well as to the principals about community education councils. We've been from last month into this one telling them that the campaign is kicking off. We need to get our NICSA signups, up, and then we will continue through the cycle to let them know that where we are in the process. So this next week's will be applications is open, candidate applications is open. Please communicate that information out. So the one part of the what you stated there was about the different, like if a principal doesn't put it out or, kind of thing. It's one of the reasons that we're talking to as many people and different people that it's not just coming from one source. So your parent coordinator's putting information out, the principal can put information out, but we're also talking to president's councils, CECs, the Title I's, elected officials, your borough presidents will be hosting information sessions because they'll be looking for appointee applications, and we'll have our greater information session. So we're trying to make it that the information is not just coming from one source, as well as making sure that we are considering other sources, other things that we as DOE may not know, but you may know. And so you share that with us and we'll get the information to them.
And will you be sending an email out to everyone who has a NYCSA account?
Yes, sir.
So every parent who has a NYCSA who has a vote will know these elections are coming up and they can register if they want to.
Well, you are registered once you have your NICSA account. So you have to create your NICSA account to get that. So right now, our biggest thing is to make sure that families have their NICSA account, because then this way they will be in that direct communication.
Thank you, Sheree.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Last but not least, Yvonne, do you have any questions?
No, I'm fine. I'm fine tonight. I just came a little bit late, so thank you.
No worries. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Sheree. This was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing with us tonight. And I know that I'm hoping that you have some time to maybe address some of the questions that are in the chat.
Oh, okay. I'll take a look.
If you do. And
yep,
thank
I'll take a look
you so
before I
much.
head out. No, thank you very much. You guys kept me on my toes. All right, CEC15. But thank you so much. I will take a moment to take a look at the questions in the chat, and I did put my contact information in as well. And please, your parent coordinators, your FLC, your FSC, and your superintendent have seen me plenty over the last few weeks, and they all have my contact information as well. So if there's anything that you need to know, please do not hesitate to reach out. So thank you all very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Sheree. I'll turn it over to you, Camille.
Thanks, Katia. Thank you so much, Sheree. Just another reminder, if anybody joined the call, here's saving the date for Saturday, June 26th, which is the CCEC training. Save that date because I know everybody is going to run for CEC. We need our active D15 parents in this game. So on to the president's report. I want to thank you all for coming this evening. This is our January calendar meeting. Happy New Year to everyone, and a very happy Lunar New Year to our friends that are celebrating the year of the Ox on February 12th. We truly appreciate your finding time to attend our meeting. There's always so much information to share about the district and our 35 schools. And although this is our first calendar meeting of 2021, we've already attended or hosted over a dozen meetings so far this month, with more scheduled for this week and next. So with so much happening all the time, we really need the voice of parents, teachers, administrators, and all of our school communities in these conversations to help shape education for all District 15 students. CEC 15 is here to serve you, and as elected leaders of this district, we take our role very seriously in including the public in our conversations. We will soon be sending requests for school community members to join us in our efforts to transform education by signing up to be a part of small CEC 15 ad hoc groups that will address issues including whole child, blended and remote learning supports, financial inequities within District 15, student and parent empowerment, and improved methods of communication. If you'd like to learn more about these groups, you can review the CEC 15 minutes from December and look for the application form coming soon via email. Additionally, if you have any concerns or ideas that you want to share about education-related matters, please do not hesitate to write to cec15@schools.nyc.gov. I'd also like to remind everyone that the DOE has started Parent University. It's a collaboration between the Office of Family and Community Empowerment, which is called FACE, and the Division of Instructional and Information Technology, DIIT. Parent University seeks to educate and empower all families from early childhood through adulthood with free courses, resources, events, and activities. Parents can register for free training on a wide range of topics, including adult education, student social emotional learning, and special education. So the DOE spent a lot of time designing this platform. It was something that CEC leaders and other leaders from schools across the city asked for. So you can visit Parent University today at parentu.schools.nyc. Additionally, the School Wellness Weekly newsletters have consistently been filled with very useful information, including a link to the DOE wellness policy. You can sign up for School Wellness Weekly newsletters on the DOE website. The Office of School Wellness is trying to build community through a student advisory wellness committee with high schoolers from all over New York. We're partnering with Hip Hop Health for a 3-part Saturday event series called Weekend Wellness and Self-Care for Communities and Families. That's launching in February. They are also talking about vaccine hesitancy and acceptance, mental health and physical activity, and racism and the connection to health and stress. So all are very important and definitely worth signing up for. Our diversity, equity, and inclusion series that was conducted in the fall is available for viewing on cecb15.org on our webpage. If you weren't able to make it for those Monday afternoon sessions, you can watch any or all of them in your free time. Not that any of us have free time anymore, but do look into that and let us know what you think. And if you have ideas for another series, feel free to write. The DOE has also been conducting CEC trainings, which are a great way for the public to get a glimpse into what the expectations of CEC members are. So if you're considering running for a seat on any of the district or citywide CECs, take some time to research what the roles and responsibilities are. We have documents for your review on our website. Again, that's cecb15.org. As Antonia had brought up previously, CEC 15 is still seeking applicants for our ELL parent representative seat. If you are interested, please email us at cec15@schools.nyc.gov. You can find an application on the DOE website or on our website. We can email it to you. Tell your friends, please. To qualify, a parent or guardian must have a child enrolled in one of the District 15 public schools under the superintendency of Anita Scott, and must have with ELL status or have had ELL status within the last 2 years. And for anybody who doesn't know, ELL is English language learners. So CEC members have been invited to participate and attend briefing sessions with Brooklyn North Executive Superintendent Karen Watts. Members, please plan to attend and share information with our other Brooklyn North CECs, and President Council leaders are also part of those meetings. I have some upcoming announcements about other meetings happening throughout the city and in District 15. There's a PEP meeting tomorrow night. In my role as co-chair of the ECC Legislative Committee, I've drafted a letter of comments regarding proposed changes to the Chancellor's regulations that dictate CCECs. So go on the DOE website and take a look at those proposed changes. There's still time to make comments. January 28th, there is a joint legislative budget hearing on elementary education. Our co-VP, Ferraro Antonia, has shared her statement with the council, and hopefully we'll talk more about this later in the meeting. On February 6th at 9:30 in the morning, that's a Saturday, the Education Council Consortium is going to be meeting with the Chancellor. These meetings are live streamed, so please sign on if you are available. There is a joint town hall meeting that we're arranging with District 13 CEC on mental health, dyslexia screening, and some special ed topics. And Assemblymember Joanne Simon is going to be giving opening remarks. That's on Thursday, February 11th. Our next calendar meeting is on February 23rd. This is going to be a joint meeting with the President's Council, and there will be a Contracts for Excellence presentation. So bring your budget questions to that meeting. I want to send a hearty congratulations to two of our CEC council members, Tia Shellstead and Yvonne Bonda. We are celebrating their 1-year anniversary this month for joining our council through the borough president appointment. And they have been actively engaging with our school communities and advocating for District 15 and beyond, and grateful for their leadership. In fact, grateful for everybody's leadership. And I want to say that I'm so proud to be part of this dynamic team, working diligently through a pandemic, continuing to call out inequities where we see them, and working toward implementing changes to policies that are perpetuating those inequities. So thank you all for your involvement and advocacy. I would be happy to answer questions, and if there are none, I'll turn the floor over to Superintendent Scott, who is up next and will be giving us updates, among things, on admissions for next year, and also on community outreach in Subdistrict 3 around the rezoning of our 7 elementary schools. Anybody have any questions? Katia, was anything popping up in the chat?
No, ma'am.
I see that Luis Maria was asking for the application. So if somebody could drop that in the chat, I would really appreciate it.
I just asked her a clarifying question.
Oh, the election for the CEC. Okay.
I think that's what she's asking.
I guess
she's asking to clarify if that is what she's asking about. Like, she's asking how many schools she can put on the application, but I just wanted to clarify if she's asking about the CCEC elections.
She may be talking about middle schools.
Right. I didn't know what specifically she was referring to.
I thought it was middle school.
Oh, yeah,
also.
we actually, I'm sorry, guys, we have the Spanish interpreters on the line. Right. So I wonder if we could.
You can direct it to the.
No questions in the Spanish interpreter line.
Okay. All right. Do we want to ask Luz Maria if she would like translation, interpretation services.
No English, Hispanic. Yo quisiera saber que la niña mía, para yo poner la secundaria ahora, para
Okay, I would
inscribir,
like to know. I would like to register my girl. She's for high school. Continúe.
quería saber porque ponen como 12 escuelas, que si podía ser menos escuelas de las que están más cerca.
I'd like to know because in the list I can write down 12 schools, and can I have fewer schools than that closer to my home? Continúe.
Y quería saber más o menos la cantidad más o menos que uno pueda poner para yo inscribir la niña.
I'd like to know how many schools, more or less, should I write down to register my girl.
Si puedo poner 5 o 9.
Can I write down 5, 9?
Anita, would you mind?
Not at all.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking that question.
Gracias por la pregunta.
Gracias, thank you.
It is very important when you fill out the application
Es muy importante cuando complete el formulario
that you fill out as many schools as possible
que
that you
ponga
are
la mayor
willing
cantidad de
to
escuelas
send your
posibles.
child to.
La mayor cantidad de escuelas posibles a las que usted desearía enviar a su hija.
So you can put down 12 schools that are near you.
Así que usted puede poner 2 escuelas que le queden cerca.
Ok, thank you, gracias.
You're welcome.
De nada.
If there's no other questions, we can turn the floor over to Anita.
Okay. So thank you so much, everybody, and thank you for having me tonight. We are going to share our PowerPoint. Good evening, I'm Anita Scott, and I am the superintendent of District 15. I'm delighted to be here, and with that, I will begin. So we have a number of things on the agenda. I've of course said welcome and greetings, and I bring greetings from my whole team, many of whom are here: Christine Farrell, Brenda Diaz, Maggie Desir Hart, and Gina Keller, and Cynthia Lascana. We are all here to support the families in District 15, and I have to give a shout out to my team because they're truly amazing. We are going to just look at one slide in honor of Dr. King. I know the birthday was last week, but we very much are supportive of continuing his work. And I want to share an exciting event that's coming up with the CEC that has to do with that. We're going to take a very quick look at some attendance data because it's something you should be proud of. I had been asked to highlight the mayor and the chancellor's 6-point plan going forward, talking about planning for rezoning, some information about assessments, what I call nuts and bolts, which will talk to, in fact, the NYSCA pieces, and then hail and farewell, and of course, questions. So with that, let's begin. In District 15, we honor the work of Dr. King. I was particularly taken by this picture, and I wanted to share it because it is who we are as Americans. He is who we are as Americans. And in District 15, we have a lot of exciting things that are happening, not only to reflect Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday, but also going into what will be next week is Black Lives Matters Week. Almost every school that we are in the district is doing something specific. And of course, Black History Month, which is really every month. And so we have exciting things happening. Next slide. This is our exciting thing that I wanted to share with you. We are having a poetry slam, and we have reached out to all of District 15. All students and teachers are open to attend from grades K through 12. And we have already gotten 50 applicants. We are so exciting. So we're deciding that we're probably going to do it over a few nights by age level. So this is really exciting to me because we've tried a few things as a district level, but this has taken off, and we're so proud of it because it honors the voices of our students. It honors the voices of our teachers, and it honors the people who are willing to get up in front of a mic and share their artistry with all of us. So this is something that we're excited about. More information to come. We will share everything with the CEC once we finalize the nights of this poetry slam. Very exciting. Kudos to Gina and Maggie who spearheaded this. I just wanted to take a minute because there's a lot of talk about attendance and data and information, just to share with you where we are in District 15 in terms of our attendance. Because our attendance is excellent. And if you look at this, I took a little piece of a bigger chart. We have the whole chart for every school. But if you look at this, you can see how strong attendance is in District 15. This is year to date. And today is actually 94.0, but yesterday was 93.3 is remote, 93.0 is in person, all grades overall 93.3, and then they break down the remote. Pre-K remote is 90.8, and when you think of the little ones, it's pretty amazing. 98, K to 8 is 93.6, and the high school always a little lower, 89.7. So we're very, very impressed with our attendance data. And this is straight from the BCO, so we're thrilled. Next slide, please. So this is what the mayor and the chancellor are calling their 6-point plan. And this was something that I have been asked to talk to. And it is not totally fleshed out in terms of heavy duty details, but I can walk you through it. So first and foremost, this is the plan for the next 18 months, what they're calling the next 18 months. This end of year and then going forward for next year, when of course, there will be a transition because of the mayoral race, and we don't know what will happen of that, but this is setting the stage for next year so that there is a continuity, there is continuity of work. One of the things that we're going to be doing is getting a baseline assessment of where the kids are. And I want to stress, they have not made a determination as yet as to what assessment will be used, or if it's going to be school specific or district specific or citywide specific, which is possible. It is not going to be a high stakes test. It is supposed to be diagnostic. And we've talked about this before. The idea being that you need to understand where kids are. There is a lot of concern about how will this test be given. Some of you know that some schools have used iReady based on schools that are CSI and TSI, that some of them have done the MAP assessments. And the concern is looking at how do we do assessments when some kids are remote and some kids are in person. And that's why I think at this point it has not been rolled out as yet. So we're waiting to see. The other piece is increasing the development of high quality digital curriculum that is available to every single school. So many of you know that at Teach Hub, there is tons of material, tons of curriculum available for free to schools that they can utilize, that teachers can access and put forward. And I will answer questions about anything you want about this. They're looking to launch a one-stop digital learning hub. So the best analogy I can give you of this is actually talking about NYSCA, which is a place where you can get your child's information, where everything would be. That is not necessarily what it will be. For me, I'm going back literally 10 years, and I'm thinking it's going to be like ARIS. And if any of you know anything about ARIS, ARIS was this huge effort to make a digital learning hub. And it first started out as a joke. It was hugely expensive, and it took a while to get the kinks out. But for once they got it to the point where it was working, it was something that many superintendents, many teachers, many principals were very comfortable using. So this is kind of how I'm processing this. It may look different. I'm sure it'll be a different process, but we are now at a stage where we can have everything in one place so that we can assess attendance, we can assess suspensions, we can assess grading, we can assess needs. That's what this is supposed to be. We're looking at deepening professional development. And the idea here is that if we want to go forward and our teachers to be successful, then we have to provide them with the supports they need to become successful, and also to share the learning they have done themselves with other teachers. So there is going to be professional development through the Office of Teaching and Learning, and we are excited about that. I am a big professional development person, so this to me is crucial. And it is one step in enhancing the skills of teachers to meet the needs of kids coming back from a pandemic. We are going to continue to expand Parent University. Parent University is a piece that Camille was talking about it. It is a very exciting development. It is an opportunity for parents to go online and have webinars and share information and glean information and learn about things at their convenience. And it is really spectacular. I also want to add that I believe Karen Watts talked about it when she came here, but in Brooklyn North and Brooklyn South have come together to do what they call Brooklyn One TV. And that is expanding as well, where lessons and information are shared literally over television. So you don't need a digital input or an iPad to get that. So this is also an opportunity, and they're looking to partner Parent University by putting some of it on TV. Lastly, but certainly one of the most important things is that we are talking about and understanding deeply the impact of trauma and mental health on our children and on our teachers and really on everybody who has gone through this pandemic. Many of you are finding right now, many adults I know, many children I know are feeling the pandemic more than they did ever before. It has taken a long time, and people need it to be over with. So this is looking at guidance, counselor support, training for staff, and social worker support. Next slide, please. Okay, very quickly. We are in the process of discussing with community and constituency around the future of 676 based on PAR recommendations. We're talking to staff, we're talking to the teachers, we're talking to the parents, the SLT, we're going to talk to elected officials and others just to share ideas that were put forward by PAR and to ensure that they are all aware of the possible recommendations. 676 was an integral concern of the community in terms of the rezoning and one of the linchpins of And so consequently, the decisions around 676 will then clear the way for the more nuanced decisions around rezoning. And this is where we are now. And I know that there is going to be more discussion about this very shortly. Next. Assessments. This is what I wanted to get to. Tomorrow, the children who are taking the specialized high school exam are going to be taking it at their own middle schools. In District 15, there is one clear exception, and that is MS 51. And the reason is that even though the school was not occupied by students or teachers literally for the past 2 months, if not longer, there was a case of COVID for a security school safety officer and somebody in the kitchen. And so because of that, the school is technically considered under quarantine. And in an excess and concern about being sure we're absolutely safe, those children will be taking the exam on February 10th, which is the makeup day. So tomorrow you will have kids in the middle school taking the Shazad. Next, gifted and talented exams are being given this year for entry into kindergarten, but are planned to be phased out next year. So unless there is a change with a different administration, it is likely that this will be the last year where 4-year-olds will be tested for gifted and talented. Somebody asked me what happens in the other grades, and we have not discussed that as yet. But I'm happy to find out and get more information to you when I get it. And lastly, something that I know is very impactful for the CEC and for District 15. New York State has put out a survey to get feedback as to requesting a waiver for state ELA and math exams from the federal government. Comments may be mailed to ESSA comments@nysed.gov or can be made directly on the NYSED ESSA website. Please, this is only until February 5th. So if you want to make a comment, this week is the time to do so. So please follow up with that. Nuts and bolts. Mark, this is an answer to your question. We are working very hard to ensure that every parent has direct outreach from their parent coordinator and from their school to ensure that they are able to vote in the CEC election. This is something that is considered extremely important and is being monitored closely at the central level. They are looking at how many people are registered and they are looking at outreach. I myself reached out to every school today. Brenda is reaching out, Christine is reaching out. We are supporting our schools in doing this. Remember, for some families, they're a little nervous about anything that has to do with giving information or going online, but we're hopeful that with the change in the political climate, there will be more success in the outreach. The other thing that is important right now, it has come up repeatedly. People have asked me, when are the middle school kids going back to blended? We have not been given a date yet, but we have specifically been told that middle school student random testing forms need to be completed in order to make that process easier. So these are two things that families can and should follow up with. And that's why I called it nuts and bolts. Next one. We have a brand new principal in District 15. Peggy Wins Madison decided to retire. There was some confusion as to when she would retire, but Julie Kavanaugh, the AP from PS15, is now at the helm of PS15. So welcome officially to the District 15 family, Julie Kavanaugh. Next one. And farewell. I know you know about this because he wrote it, but I wanted to tell you that our district is apparently the college that prepares you to be a superintendent, especially in District 2. For the second time in 14 months, we have our deputy becoming the superintendent in District 2. And so it is with unbelievable bittersweet feelings that we wish Kelly well, and that we know that he will be amazing, but that we will miss him terribly. So good luck to Kelly McGuire, my very incredible deputy. And with that, any questions or comments?
Thank you so much, Anita. Tia, I'll turn it over to you for questions and comments. I'll leave mine till the end.
Okay, thank you, Anita. We're going to have public comments to start. So if you do have a comment for Anita or a question, please use the raise hand feature. Or if you're calling in, please press *9. Again, if you have questions or comments for Anita, please use the raise hand feature or use the call-in *9.
There was somebody who was I think Kathy or in the chat was raising questions.
I believe they were answered, but let me just double, triple check. Yeah, it was about Parent University and she was answered.
Good, thank you.
So we'll move to council questions at this point then. I'll do a roll call. Camille, would you like to ask your questions now? Camille?
You're muted. She's muted.
You're on mute, Camille.
No, I'm sorry. No, Katia, just skip me for now. I'm going to come back a little bit later, if that's okay.
Okay, Antonia?
Yeah, what are the protocols during the SHSAT, the safety protocols? How many proctors are in the room? How many students are in a room taking the exam?
So the schools are completely empty except for the kids taking the exams. And so they are following the CDC guidelines for the number of kids allowed in the room and the number of adults. Remember, every room in every school has been given a number and they have to sit 6 feet apart and they're following all the guidelines. So whatever they would have followed for blended learning and that they did is being maintained. The rooms have been cleaned. This is a question that has come up, and the rooms have been meticulously cleaned. This is a big deal. And they're, as I said, that's why 51 is not back, because even though there were 2 adults, literally 2 adults in the building and nobody else that were impacted, and it is now 9 days into quarantine, the decision was made to postpone it to make sure everything was really safe. So this is something the city does take seriously. They're following the CEC guidelines and all of the cleaning and PEP preparations, as well as social distancing and masks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tia, would you have a question?
No, I don't.
Okay. Kimberly, do you have a question?
Hello. I know you said you don't really have any official information on sort of when middle and high school students will be going back. Is there any feel for, will they ever be going back? Or is this, are we waiting until, the end of this month, or, any insight on that would be helpful.
So this is just my personal reflection. And what I will say to you is, I don't think they would be asking us to have the kids fill out the random testing form if there was no intent for them to go back. And there is, in fact, a very big push for them to fill out these random testing forms. So what my guess, and that please bear in mind that it is, as you said, it is the middle schools and the high schools. And remember that the high schools would be in a place where they would be switching semesters. So I have a feeling, as just in terms of the layout of a school year, that it might be tied to that, but I may be wrong. But it feels to me like that would be a piece where they would be thinking, oh, the kids can go back at the beginning of what we consider the new semester. Also, you have to bear in mind that principals have been absolutely burdened with rescheduling and scheduling and scheduling and last minute scheduling. And I think that the Department of Ed is being very thoughtful in thinking about making sure that there will be an announcement in time for principals to clearly schedule a return, thinking about things like 5 days and the random testing and all of the pieces that are now in place in elementary, which would have to be in place in middle schools. So yes, I think they're going to go back, Kimberly, I do. But I don't think they're going to call tomorrow and say they're going back on Monday. I think that there'll be a little bit of a pre-announcement so that everybody can get ready.
Thank you.
Bess, would you have a question? Bess?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Thanks, Anita. There was a lot in that presentation, so sure I'll think of something else and I can email and make that public as well. But I did have a question. You know, you brought up in two different ways how kind of not, you know, you said not high stakes, but there will be assessments of both, you know, what we've potentially, you know, many kids may have lost academically, but also there, you know, the last bullet point and focus would be on mental health. So my first question is more academic. The other is on the social emotional. The academic thing would be, you know, I know it's a working project, but who will be doing these assessments and what measures would be used, whether it's going to be this kind of the same old, and will it be mostly, you know, that aspect. And then on the emotional and mental health, you know, obviously, again, it's important. That's my area of, you know, interest and knowledge, that who does the screening, like would it be a social worker, a guidance counselor, how in depth. I wouldn't want to re-traumatize, you know, the developmental appropriateness. I'm sure you have teams of people, you know, who are thinking these questions, but, you know, who actually is that first contact for that traumatized child and family can mean the world. So I just was thinking about those precursor questions about who will those children be able to be held by, and in what
So
way?
first, I'm going to start with your social emotional, because like you, I'm a social emotional person and I understand where you're going and I agree with you. So the best analogy that it's not an analogy, the best description that I can give you is, first and foremost, our children who have been in school blended, or even our children who have been in school remotely, have been working with teachers who have seen them frequently. It may not be every day, but they've seen them and they know them. And teachers collectively, teachers who are, it may not be every single teacher at that depth, but they know their kids and they know when they are in need. So if it is something where there is a change in behavior, or whether they know the family, that is somebody who will be a first touch. Also, and I'm going to say, give a shout out to a principal. There is a principal in our district. There are many of them. There's some of them even here tonight, who know their families so well, who have made food deliveries for their families. So they know the trauma that families go to. They know who unfortunately has lost someone. They know somebody who may have real food crisis in their family. So those are the people who are the first stop. The second stop is kids who really need additional support. And those are the guidance counselors and social workers who will meet with the parents and support the parents. And we also have people from the BCO who are phenomenal. We've, even in pre-COVID times, unfortunately, many times we have had situations where there was a loss at a school, whether it was the terrible death of a teacher, or whether it was the death of a student or a family member, we have had teams of people who go out into the schools and meet with them. Those teams are still available, and they will be working with our kids. So the kids are going to be important. The kids are going to be supported, not by a stranger who doesn't know them, but somebody who is trained and somebody who cares. And if there is any problem, and if we hear of anything, I'm happy to support anybody. And this is really important to me. So please do not hesitate to reach out to my office, because there is nobody in the world like the team in my office. They care so much about the kids, and they will do anything to support them. So that's number one. Number two is academics. This is a whole different ball of wax. And this is where I can say to you, I honestly know how they're going to assess the kids. There are schools that are already doing traditional regular assessments. They're doing F&P reading levels. They're doing math unit tests. The problem is that it is somewhat different. F&P is actually easier to do even remotely, because it's a one-to-one assessment. You sit with the child and you assess their reading, decoding skills, and their comprehension. Math unit tests and other tests are more difficult because because they're done online, or they're pencil and paper. And there is a discrepancy between kids who are doing it online and kids who are doing it at home, at home, and kids who are doing it in school. So this has not been worked out as yet, but kids are doing periodic assessments. God willing, this will be something that, like a doctor, coming in for a diagnosis, when kids come back either at the end of the year or in the fall, they'll be very clearly identified in terms of what they need, which truthfully should happen every year anyway. And so this is about teachers. It is about the city looking at what kids need and making a determination. I can't say to you that it will not be a citywide assessment. I just don't know. But I also know that it is not designed to be high stakes. It is not designed to blame a school, blame a teacher, or God forbid, blame a child. It is supposed to be diagnostic. And where I know that many people are distrustful of this, I truly believe that when you understand where kids are, you can help them. I am an early childhood teacher. I am making my principals literally crazy. They can tell you that I am committed to them looking at early childhood, because I want the kids to be able to read. And in order for kids to be able to read, you have to figure out what they're struggling with. And so we're talking a lot about that. So that's the best answer I can give you, Bess. And thank you for raising it.
Okay, thank you. I don't have a question. Claudia, would you have one?
I do. One is just a comment. Thank you for sharing how families can voice or give feedback regarding the New York State ELA and math exams. I feel like that was sort of lost. I actually don't know how I would have gotten that information, because I didn't get that information, or maybe I missed it, but it's also part of the big bombardment. So just to highlight, thank you for pointing out those two ways that we can share information, obviously before February 1st, even though that's coming up soon. My main question is sort of a two-parter. You've shared in the past how schools, when the shift or the opportunity for schools to offer 5 days a week for some students was introduced, and that it was obviously based on space availability and other considerations. And in the past, you've been able to share what schools were able to and how they prioritize that. I don't know if you have an update on, like, just across the district, how many schools were able to offer that and to what population of students. Sure. And related to that, like, are there any schools that are offering it specifically to, like, kids that have IEPs or learning plans that would have been prioritized?
Yes.
For learn.
So two things, but one I want to say first that has nothing to do with the question. The date that you have to get the information to ESSA is February 5th, not February 1st. So you have a week.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two, let's go back to your question. Every school in our district, but one, is offering some kind of 5-day-a-week support. It may not be for a large population, but it is definitely starting with children who have IEPs and special needs. And the more intense their needs, those are the ones we've tried to prioritize. So for example, the Horizon program at PS 24 is one of the programs in the school that is 5 days a week. And that is for children who are little ones. It's a small program, but it is children who are on the autism spectrum. And they are the first priority for that schools. Other classes include the ACEs program at 15 and 12 to 1-to-1 classes, which are self-contained classes, have been prioritized across the district. Those are the kids we prioritized first. We have since moved to, if you have the room, please expand the program. This is what the mayor wants. This is what the chancellor wants. And so because I am crazy about early childhood, you know how I feel about kids reading, we have tried to prioritize early childhood kids. So I know that Laura Scott is moving to a 5-day model in Bishop Ford Pre-K. I know that some schools have moved to one first grade or second grade. The idea is we want to give the kids who have the most need the piece. Every school except for one, and I'll tell you which one in a second, is doing a 5-day program. The school that is not doing a 5-day program is PS 39 because they can't. They are servicing almost 80% of their children in the blended model in a school that I refer to as the Fisher-Price dollhouse. I've explained this before, forgive me for being redundant. This is a building that was originally used as a post-Civil War hospital. And so the classrooms have no halls between them. You go into one class and then you go into another class. So there is incredibly little space for social distancing and everything. And they are already bringing in 80% of their population. They cannot physically do this during the pandemic. And so consequently, they are the school that absolutely does not do 5 days a week. Every other school is doing some form of 5 days a week. Some PS 94, the whole school is doing 5 days a week. PS 169 is moving to a bigger model of 5 days a week. Laura Scott's, as I said, Bishop Ford is moving to almost all the kids 5 days a week. It's growing as we see, but please bear in mind, there are many schools where they cannot do extensive 5-day programs because they are already serving so many kids in school. And so it is a balancing act. How many kids can we fit in school, socially distanced, and how many kids are we actually serving? And when we talked about the Shazad, I mentioned to you that they have very specific room-based guidelines for how many kids can fit in a room at a time with a teacher. And so consequently, there are some schools, if they are serving a large population, let me give you 24 again as an example. 24 in Sunset Park is unique in that it is serving, in their blended model, 65% of their children are coming into that school blended, which is huge numbers. So some schools are serving very high numbers of kids blended, and some schools are serving very low numbers of kids blended. If the numbers are lower, then you're able to bring them in for more days.
Thank you, Anita. Okay, Mark, do you have a question?
Yeah. Hi, Anita. How are you?
Hi, Mark.
Nice to see you. Just a couple of statements. The G. I know you're connected at the DOE. The note about the GMT test for 4-year-olds, holding that test this year, it's just so sad and depressing that we've prioritized doing that in a pandemic. I know how you feel about it. I just wish there was a place to put the screaming and the frustration, because it's just unaccountable. I mean, it's just, there's no kind of, like, that's just crazy that we're having tests for 4-year-olds in this moment. I've already heard multiple people at the middle school level, also most staff people in middle schools, who are frustrated that we're holding an SHSAT in their middle schools. And we're using middle school staff for a small population of kids to take this admittance exam, this 1-day high stakes single test admittance exam to get into high school, when everyone on this call is decrying and crying for the need to reopen our schools. So we're putting staff at risk to do these things for this purpose. It's really frustrating. And I just wanted to kind of put that out there and say, boy, wouldn't it be great if we're going to spend time to reopen our schools for 1 day? Why don't we just open them up for an athletic event or a music event or something for our kids to see each other and use our staff that way, instead of having them proctor exam that the majority of people in our district hate and despise and think are sorting our kids in a segregated way. So that's my one take. The other thing is, I really appreciate your efforts to kind of give clarity to the reopening plan and answer all the questions. You mentioned something about, we should expect a pre-announcement relative to that happening, to the extent it happens, and to get that form filled out. I wonder if I think it'd just be helpful. Can you, I don't know if you can do this, but can you specifically explain who the decision maker is here, where we should be looking for that announcement, and what specific criteria they're using to make this decision, so that we can tell this to our families? Or should we just continue to tell our families, just wait and see, there may be an announcement coming from somewhere that at some point before the end of the year, your kids may go back to hybrid? Because that's the reality right now. And then,
Mark,
of course, Anita, none of this is directed at you. You know how highly I think of you. I'm channeling my inner parent frustration, but the detail
totally,
around that's really important, because I also am the IEP rep, and I'm dealing with families that have kids with school refusal. They may be showing up on your participation numbers, but I'm telling you right now, they're not going to school. Yeah. They're not there. They need to be in this. They need to be in a school setting, and we need to be prioritizing that.
So first and foremost, thank you for thinking so highly of me. And the reality is that I am going to have to say that I honestly think that these are decisions that are made by the mayor and the chancellor in consultation. In terms of wanting kids to go back, it's very clear to me that the mayor wants kids to go back. It's very clear to me that the chancellor wants kids to go back. In terms of the how and the when, we have not really been told anything. I am using my own personal experience to answer that question based on the fact that they are discussing these forms. And I honestly do feel that they would not be asking parents to fill out random testing forms if they were not sending the kids back. Because it is different than just saying, oh, when you have a minute, fill out a random testing form, and saying to the superintendent, this is a priority. We expect all the kids who are blended to have a random testing form. That to me is indicative of a planning process of going back. I don't know when they're thinking about it. What I said to Kimberly, I think, is realistic. We are at a point where the semester changes. This is just my projection. It is not anything that I know, but there is a logic to it. The logic is that I would not, right now, yesterday was in fact the beginning of what used to be Regents Week at the high schools. So it stands to reason that that's not going to happen right now. There are no regents right now. And so I don't believe that they are going to say to principals, okay, go back Monday. There was a lot of push from a lot of people about this, getting everything ready, getting it in place. And it's much more complex at the high school and middle school level because of content specialty classes. It's somewhat easier in elementary school when you have common branch teachers who can handle gen ed classes. It's much more complex when you're at the high school level and you need content specific teachers. So I know that this has to be something, it makes sense to me that this is what people are talking about and that it needs a little bit more planning. I am optimistic, but that's my nature. And I do believe that kids will go back. My hope is that they will give principals at least a week's notice, and families, so that they will know that this is the day they're going back and they can plan accordingly. There are people who are concerned about what's going to happen over February break. We went through the same thing with quarantining people who went away for the holidays. So there's lots of pieces to this. I have to say that I worry about safety, but I want to put in a plug for getting your vaccine. I got my first shot over the weekend, and I will say that it is painless. It is no big deal. It was fine, thank God. And I'm an old lady, so, but if there's anybody you want me to talk to convince them, I will be glad to talk to anybody. But right now, what I will say to you is, I promise you, the minute I hear anything, I will let our district know. But right now, I cannot give you a date. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you, Anita. I had one other question, but I want to respect my colleagues' time. So I'll just put it in the chat and then let my colleagues take the rest of the time up. Thank you.
Thank you. Yvonne, would you have a question?
Yes, more than a question, Anita, thank you very much. Every time you always clarifying and giving more information than for all the parents and everybody that is asking questions here. But I just want you to very brief. You already touched this, you already explained it, but it's just that in our meetings, we always find parents that are still worry about the map for rezoning. They want to know the map because they want to make decisions. They want to make decisions about where to move and all those things. But briefly, could you tell us that this is a process? We don't have a map. Because they keep asking us as we are hiding some information that we don't have. And there is no information because it's a process. Maddie and everybody in the team are working on this, and it just please briefly one more time, because this is like every 2 weeks you have the same questions, but coming from you, I will appreciate it. Thank you.
So thank you, but I'm happy to answer this to the best of my ability. So no, I want to be clear about something. There is no magic hidden map. There is nothing that we have that is saying right now, oh, we're just waiting for the right moment to spring. That's not what's going on. What's happening in District 15 has never happened in New York City before. Usually exactly what you described and what parents are thinking is what happened. The Office of Enrollment would come in, the Office of Planning would come in after consultation with the Office of Enrollment, and they would say, this is the way we're going to rezone. The CEC would have some hearings. They might tweak the map a little, and that was it. Then there would be a vote, and that was the end of it. This is the first time in the history of New York City, certainly in District 15, but across the city as well, where we've looked at elementary rezoning through the lens of integration and equity. And in doing this, it is such a complex process, because what we found was there were voices that were not being heard, and we started ensuring that everybody was being heard through Maddie, through the PAR process. And now we're getting feedback from the PAR, and we're trying to talk to the community and say, this is an idea, what do you think about it? This is another idea, what do you think about it? It's going to come to fruition at some point fairly shortly. Parents are worried because what they're worrying about is, where is my kid going to go to school? Well, the answer is next year, the zoning is not changing. The kids who are going to kindergarten in September are going to go to the school that they are zoned for right now. The following year, 22-23, is going to be the year of change. And so all I can say to you is, we have been in this process pre-pandemic, post-pandemic. It feels like almost 2 years. And because of that, we've waited so long, everybody's tired, everybody wants an answer. Please be patient. We're almost there. We will be there soon, but we don't have a map to show you, and we don't have a hidden plan to tell you. We are just trying to do what's right. And what I said is true. What people feel about 676 and where 676 fits in the mix is a big piece of this. And so we are trying to do two things at once: make a determination about one specific school, and then make a really good process for integration and zoning in D15. And it is going to be groundbreaking, and it is going to be literally precedent setting citywide.
Thank you. Okay, Camille, I will circle back to you. I know you didn't get a chance to ask your questions or make your comments.
Thank you so much, Anita. Sorry. I guess I was just curious if you know anything about how the budget is working for SAT exam, because typically a school like Brooklyn Tech, who has a $38 million budget, would house the test. And I know there's some money attached to that. So I'm happy to see that the money is being redistributed, and that children are having access through their middle school that hopefully will be more comfortable for them. And I don't want any of this to sound like I support the test, because personally I do not. But I'm curious about money and how that's working for the schools. Is there a school allocation memorandum coming? I know the schools are worried about budget, as we all are, and we're hearing that Governor Cuomo is threatening looming budget cuts to education, which is, of course, completely outrageous. So just thinking about, was this one of many reasons of how the DOE is helping to redistribute funds to schools?
So in terms of budget for the testing, I honestly don't know. I do know that it is that teachers who are not remote or who are teaching remotely, this is during the school day, so there is no, it's not like they're doing it on the Saturdays. There's no procession involved in this. There is no extra fees involved in this, which actually probably makes it more cost effective. So the way, to my understanding, and I've spoken to a couple of my principals about this, what's happening is the kids are coming in, they have the teachers who are proctoring are teachers who are teachers, remember, they're all remote now. So they are teachers who would be in the building. They are not the people who have remote accommodations. They have been asked to come in for the day, which they are legally able to do. And they will be proctoring this test. And then that will be the end of it. I don't think they had to give them extensive money for this at all because it isn't on a Saturday. So they did not have to do procession. There is a lot of concern budgetarily. I saw the letter from Lara and for Brad Lander and other electeds about this. There is a lot of concern, as you said, for Governor Cuomo saying there are going to be budget cuts, and principals are very fearful. But having said that, I don't think the test is as big a financial drain as other things. I think there are things that they're much more worried about than this. I think the logistics of doing this in a pandemic are challenging because you want to make sure you do it absolutely right. So I was speaking to one of my principals, and they are grateful that it's going to be over tomorrow, let's be honest. But also they are so incredible. The principals in District 15 are so incredible because God bless them, their resilience and their spirit carries them through. And truthfully, I think some of them are going to be very eager to see the kids. I've heard a lot about, I want to see my kids. So I am hopeful that the kids will be joyful to see the principals, the 8th graders who are coming in. I am hopeful, as you said, that they will be more comfortable in a setting where they know their teacher and where they're in their home school. I don't know what's going to happen with this test. I know that there are state ramifications for those certain schools. So we're going to have to wait and see. But financially, I don't think it was too much of a burden.
Okay, thank you. And so we're going to be having our presentation on the contract for fiscal equity at the next meeting. So I'm just going to drop some information in the chat for everybody about sending your budget questions in advance so that we could just send them to the DOE and hopefully have the answers embedded in the presentation. So thank you so much, Anita.
You're welcome. Just wanted to add that I put my email in the chat in the very beginning. So if anybody has a question or a concern, please don't be afraid to reach out.
I just dropped it in again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, great. So Tia, it was the last question, right?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So I guess we can move on to our resolution on support for MLL students and families. Tia, would you like to talk a little bit about the background on this resolution?
Sure. We had originally presented a draft. I think I can't remember.
December 8th.
Oh wait, it says it at the top here.
December 8th.
December 8th. Oh yes. We worked on it, discussed it a little bit during the meeting, honoring our bylaws that we're trying to do more of these actions in our public meetings. There was some concern amongst our colleagues on the CEC that that the resolution be more fleshed out. So we've gone back and amended the resolution and kind of made it a more broad document that speaks to the DOE services for multilingual language learners, families in general, not just, we initially just wanted to make sure we had translation and interpretation for our business meetings because we were not getting those, I guess, for budget reasons. But then we have decided that that to address the needs of multilingual families in general. So we have a new draft for the CEC now. I don't know if everyone has had a chance to read it. I emailed it to you all earlier. I can put a clean link in the chat or share screen or whatever, or both. Here you go. Yeah.
Let's share the link in the chat so people could view it, and then Saida can also do a screen share, or you can. And would you like me to read it, or do you want to read it?
Oh, okay. You can show it without the comments. Either one. Go ahead, Camille.
Thank you. Okay, so the title is Resolution on Language Supports for Non-English Speaking Families. Whereas New York City Public Schools exist to serve all the city's public school students, whereas the Department of Education has two separate offices that exist to support multilingual students and non-English speaking families, which are the Division of Multilingual Learners and the Office of Translation and Interpretation. Whereas leaders in those offices are working to expand and improve access. Whereas the Department of Education offers translation of their parent-facing website in close to 100 languages via Google Translate, and includes welcoming language on the homepage regarding language access. Whereas parents have the right to receive information or communicate with a staff member at their school or Department of Education office in their language. Whereas New York City schools are seeing more ELL students attending schools in higher concentrations than they have in the past, where currently 13% of New York City public school students are English language learners, and 15% of District 15 students are English language learners. We're going to scratch that next line because we were not able to get the actual data on that, and we don't want it to hold us up. Whereas students and their parents communicate in over 180 different languages, including sign language, and Chancellor's Regulations A663 requires language services in the 9 most common languages other than English spoken by parents of New York City school children. Whereas MLL students and families who speak a language other than English will not be served well and are at a disadvantage if they cannot access or understand communications, publications, announcements, resources, meetings, and event invitations that come from the DOE, their school, their PA or PTA, their superintendent, or CCEC. Whereas districts like B15, who are adopting diversity plans and embrace all types of students, require additional support, require additional support for not only students, but staff, where most teachers and before are trying to communicate with and maintain relationships with families that do not speak English. Whereas robust parent engagement improves academic outcomes and creates a welcoming community to all families. Whereas our teachers, parent coordinators, and school leaders are working diligently to stay in regular contact with all of our families. Whereas if documentation and meetings are conducted only in English, non-English speaking families will likely not engage fully, feel unwelcome, and become disenfranchised, inevitably adversely impacting student success. Whereas further inequities exist in that for non-English speaking students or family members to participate on a remote platform used for communication and teleconferencing, 2 devices are required to fully and actively participate in an online meeting. 1 device for interpreted audio and another for video. Whereas these language barriers and technology constraints place an undue burden on families that are already struggling. Whereas CEC15 is actively seeking input from underrepresented families and trying to fill a vacancy on our council for an ELL representative for almost a year. Whereas candidates will not apply for the CCELL seat, they assume that CEC meetings will be conducted in English only. Whereas even though every page on the NYC DOE website has a pull-down menu to select language, the Info Hub page on Translation and Interpretation Unit is not translatable. Whereas the following documents that directly impact, I'm sorry to stop. I didn't skip a page, did I? I have this printed out. Guys, I'm good, right?
You're good, Camille.
Okay, I'm sorry. Whereas the following documents that directly impact family engagement, student support, and community empowerment are available only in English. CRA 170, Home Instruction Services. A190, Significant Changes in School Utilization and Procedures for the Management of School Buildings Housing 1 or more schools. A411, Behavioral Crisis De-Escalation Intervention and Contact 911. A418, Sex Offender Notification. A443, Student Discipline Procedures. A501, Promotion Standards. A750, Child Abuse and Maltreatment Prevention. A501, Promotion, I'm sorry, that's an error there. That was a duplicate. A820, Confidentiality and Release of Student Records and Record Retention. A825, No Child Left Behind, Disclosure of Information to Institutions of Higher Learning and the Military. A830, Anti-Discrimination Policy and Procedures for Filing Internal Complaints of Discrimination. E801, School-Based Budgeting. E140, Process for the Nomination and Selection of Members of the Community Education Councils, including filling vacancies. E150, Process for the Selection of Members of the Citywide Council on Special Education and the Citywide District 75 Council. E170, Process for the Nomination and Selection of Members of the Citywide Council for English Language Learners, including filling vacancies. E180, Extended Use of School Buildings. Whereas the DOE hasn't translated following documents or web pages, limiting parent engagement and support, causing disruption with schedules, and limiting access to health information. These are the following documents. The CCEC member application, which is only available in English and Spanish. NYC DOE COVID technical support for families website page, only in English. Notification of school closures in mid-November were announced only in English with no available translation until the next day. COVID exposure notifications from DOE only in English. Therefore, be it resolved that CEC15 asks the DOE to prioritize and complete translation of the above mentioned Chancellor's regulations.
Please put on a shirt if you're going to be in this room.
I'm sorry, Tia, did you say
Oh,
something?
sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, I was talking to my child.
I'm sorry. Therefore, be it resolved that CEC 15 asks the DOE to prioritize and complete translation of the above mentioned Chancellor's regulations before the end of this school year. And be it resolved that the DOE send out future COVID-related information in all languages on the same day. Be it resolved that the DOE create pathways for school staff who speak, read, and write in languages other than English, otherwise known as LOTE, LOTE, whose LOTE abilities would benefit their school populations, be given a stipend to assist with in-house translation and interpretation. Be it resolved that the family leadership coordinators of each district assist their respective president's council, and that parent coordinators assist their PAs and PTAs with monthly meeting interpretation, interpretation of meeting minutes, and flyer translations. Be it resolved that DOE provide training opportunities in language access initiatives, not only to field support staff and administrators, but to teachers and staff, as well as CCECs and their administrative assistants, in computer software such as PowerPoint and Microsoft Translate that provide closed captioning translation and flyer translation. Be it resolved that translation and interpretation services be adequately funded so that CECs may have interpretation services available to them at all open meetings. Be it resolved that the current DOE messages for families page be used as the model for all future messaging, which is translated into 10 languages and offers a sign language video. Be it resolved that the DOE survey teachers, administration, and school staff to get feedback on needed language access and support to further communications with families and report those findings to wherever it says CECs, I'm just going to change it to CCECs so that it's more overarching because it's applicable throughout the city. I hope you don't mind. Be it resolved that DOE present findings of the following list to CEC 15 as it relates to District 15 schools, including high schools, C75 schools, and charter schools, if any, for the school years 2018-19 and 2019-20. The number of distinct documents that have been translated into the covered languages and the general nature of such documents, the number of meetings at which it provides interpretation services and the languages for which it provides such services, its annual budget for language access services, number of department employees who provide language access services on a full-time basis, number of times interpretation services are provided by telephone and the language in which such services are provided. And be it resolved that the DOE review, update, and amend as necessary Chancellor's Regulations A663, regulation of the Chancellor on translations, updated last in June of 2009, including relevant services to support remote learning. And that would be copied to Chancellor Carranza, Deputy Chancellor Austin, at FACE, Executive Superintendent Watts, who I want to give a shout out to. I noticed she was on the call earlier. And of course, Superintendent Scott. So again, I would like to just amend changing CECs to CCECs. And then we had one section was within the Chancellor's regulations that needs to get struck in A501 promotion standards. And that one line on page 1 where we couldn't get the complete data. Does anybody have any questions? Tia, can you introduce the public comment period in relation to this resolution, please? Tia?
Sorry, are you saying Katia or Tia?
I was saying Katia.
Okay. I don't see Katia.
She got bumped off. Yeah, do you want to do the public comment period?
Sure. Does any member of the public have any comment on this resolution? I'm sorry, I didn't share it very well before, but I think I gave everyone access who requested it.
You could share
Let's
the
see.
link as a view only link.
And
then people don't need a Gmail account to open it.
I just like copied and pasted the link, so I didn't know how to do it otherwise. Let me see. Mom. Walter, I am in a meeting. Okay. Let me do it again. So do you like get the link? Okay, copy link. And then okay. How about this? Does any member of the public want a need access that doesn't have access? You can either type in the chat or raise your hand or even unmute yourself and say so. Oh, Karen, I think I granted your request for access. Thanks, Camille.
Yeah, I think you were sharing. Did you share the link from just the top of your computer?
Well,
for some reason,
I did
the
at
link I got is
first.
different.
Yeah,
oh, okay,
I
that's
copied
the
and
problem.
pasted.
Yeah.
But then I just shared again. Okay, everybody, yay. So everybody has it. Well, maybe
There's a question from Monique.
Oh, great.
Lindsay. Have you connected with the CCEC Council for input?
We have not actually. But what we would do, assuming that this is approved in our vote, is that typically we would share our resolutions with all of the CECs throughout the city, and certainly we would be sharing this one. And frequently we will share each other's resolutions, and anybody could choose to adopt or change language and make it their own. So we hope that people would actually do that. Any other questions?
Okay. Do we want to do comments from CEC members now? Should we do roll call? Antonia?
I don't have a question. I just want to applaud your efforts. That is a beast of a resolution from one, from somebody who writes beasts of resolutions. Touche.
All right. Are we still kind of reading it over? There's a lot in here. Oh, I was doing roll call. Okay. I'm just going to go down I don't know the official order here. Bess?
I don't have any questions. I read it and made some comments, which I saw you addressed. And thank you that it is very substantial.
Great. Claudia?
No comments. Thanks for putting this together. That was really comprehensive.
Kimberly?
No comments. Well done.
Mark?
Ditto, no comments. Well done. Thank you.
Yvonne?
No comments. Very well done. Thank you.
All right. So do we want to move to a vote? Oh, here we go. We have
Sorry,
a
one
comment from
other
in the
thing.
chat. Yeah.
The other thing is, should we LL to MLL like throughout the document? I noticed we're kind of going back and forth.
Yeah, I think that MLL is the new way to speak, right?
Yeah, it's
Whatever
just
you
only in
decide.
the Sorry, go ahead.
Whatever you decide, make it consistent. Use one.
Yeah, I think we should go with MLL. The only
Yeah.
place where I would say no is where it references the CEC member, because that has not changed.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to change that also. I'm sorry, Karen, you put a note. It is comprehensive, and I'm looking at it for the first time. Is there in a nutshell, explanation of this? In a nutshell, explanation is that we have been experiencing very specific inequities around this subject, and we just really wanted to call it out and make sure that the DOE has a very clear message about how important this is.
It's generally just improving communication between the DOE and families who don't speak English.
Also giving schools support they need to communicate effectively, especially in this current situation. So there's a cost to everything, of course. You know, we know that there's budget cuts looming. And simultaneously, the DOE signed off on $1.7 million or thereabouts to fund the G&T test. And so, you know, obviously there's money there, and perhaps it can be redirected to areas where it could be more useful.
If I could add,
Camille, sorry, just going through this and changing to MLL, where we're citing the statistics, you know, where we say 13% of New York City public school students are English language learners. Should we leave it because that's like an official statistic, you know?
Further. Maybe that's the
quote.
reason why we were going back and forth.
Yeah. I feel like we should just leave it there in case, like, you know, since it's a citation.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
Claudia, you were going to say something?
Yeah, and I think this is the sentiment I feel is in the document, but I feel like this is, like you mentioned, like it's the cost really of doing, I don't want to say business, but just operating a school system where there are a majority of people that don't speak English. And so it sort of should be a given and assumed part of including these families and making sure that equity and accessibility is addressed. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, is that you dropping that? Oh, Antonia.
I was just in there trying to put in Antonia's footnote for that number. Yeah.
Okay, did we have that line in there?
I thought you dropped that whole line
What line?
about the number of multilingual learners in New York.
Yeah, I've been looking for it. You mean the families line? I think it's gone. Yeah.
No, but she put a number in there of 154,000. that wasn't what we were looking for.
Yeah,
We
that's
were-
the students. How
Yeah,
many
that's-
students?
The number of students.
I mean, we have 13% and then we have this number also. You know, do we need this number? Since we say 13% of the students, whatever. We could just add that number to where it says 13%.
That isn't the 2018-19 school year. The 13% is current.
Right,
Or-
okay. Yeah, why
or-
don't we delete this since it's not current? We
Yeah,
have a
let's
current
take
number.
that line out.
Okay. Okay, cool. I was just in there to add the footnote to that, but okay.
And then just in the be it resolved, there's 2 areas where let's see. We should have numbered these pages. I had done that. Sorry, guys, this just became a working session. Oh, wait, no, we don't.
So a CCEC MLL seat, CCECs have MLL seats also?
No, they don't. They have ELLC.
All right, so then I'll not change that CEC to CCEC.
So it was on the second to last page. Okay, here. CC.
I just was looking for it too. Okay.
And then,
in there.
and then here.
Here. Okay, you do it.
Okay, so I'm just going to write out full names of the people we are copying, and then do I hear a motion to adopt this resolution?
I will move to adopt the resolution.
Oh, Karen, thank you. Type O in para with Sheree.
I just found it and did it.
Thank you. Okay, so Antonia is making a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, I'm going to include Mayor de Blasio since we are under mayoral control. Okay, so roll call vote. I will save mine till the end. Antonia, how do you?
Yes.
Okay. Tia?
Yes.
And Kimberly?
Yes.
Trying to remember the order. Bess?
Yes.
Katia? Did she ever get back on? No. Mark?
Yes.
Okay, great. And Yvonne?
Yes.
Claudia?
Yes.
And Camille? Yes. I think that was everybody, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, congratulations, Tia and Camille, for working so diligently on this. Thank you all for your support. So I have misplaced my agenda here, and I don't know where we are. Oh, no, I do. I do know where we are. Okay, so does anybody have any old business? Old business, anybody?
I don't think so.
And new business, Antonia, do you want to talk a little bit about that education budget hearing?
Could I talk about what the President's Council wants me to bring up?
Please do.
They really want me to read this. They're writing a letter regarding the SHSAT that they would like folks to sign on. They want me to read it. To Mayor Bill de Blasio and Chancellor Carranza, we are writing in regard to the SHSAT test being offered in person this week, and with our request that the test be canceled, postponed, or radically reimagined. Our middle schoolers aren't in school. Admissions standards are changing. A majority of families have not yet felt safe sending students in person, 3/4 of whom are people of color. These tests have already exacerbated inequalities in our system, and in these conditions, promise to do so even more. So why are we having these in-person tests? Please cancel, postpone, or radically reimagine the SHSAT at once. So hopefully they will find a way to share this broadly so that people can sign on. It seems like obviously these tests are happening tomorrow. And it is quite unfortunate that the very people we want to include in these specialized high schools and haven't been so included are the people who are least likely to participate in in-person education at this time and more impacted, have been more impacted by COVID than other groups. So their point is, they have a strong point on this. With regard to the budget, I hope to testify Thursday in some joint legislative budget hearings on elementary education. Obviously, last week, Governor Cuomo released his proposed executive budget. And unless we receive $15 billion in federal stimulus aid, we face $2 billion in education cuts. And I have written up my testimony. I have shared it with you all. Thank you so much, Anita, for sharing the needs of the district with me. And I will share them Thursday if they select me.
Thank you for that update. I am curious to know if our council would like to sign on collectively to that President's Council letter. I know that people have mixed feelings about the test, but I think that what the letter actually says, I hope that we can all agree to, given the current situation.
I move to vote on signing on to the letter.
I second.
Okay. Need that list again. All right, I'm going to save myself to last. Antonia Ferraro,
Yes.
Tia Shelstead,
Yes.
Bess Abraham,
Yes.
Kimberly Scott,
Abstain.
and Tia is not here, right? Claudia,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Yvonne,
Yes.
and Camille, yes. Okay, so Antonia, can you share that letter with the council and let the President's Council know that we're signing on?
I will.
Thank you. So new business. Behind the scenes, Tia has been drafting a letter to NICEAD about the ELA test. So, yeah, are you ready? Or do we
Yeah,
have to
let
postpone?
me try to share again properly. Hold on a second. So what you do is you go to share and then copy link, and then I'll put it in there. And basically,
share, make it a view. So, because if you do view, then anybody can open it. You don't have to have a Gmail address.
Change to anyone with the link.
Yes, and
Okay.
view. Exactly.
Okay. Okay. So I put it in the chat. I just basically retrofitted our resolution. I was just trying to like edit. I mean, it might have been better if I just like started writing from scratch, but I was also trying to listen to the meeting. So you know, dive in, everyone. Let's see. I could just make it oh yeah, viewer. Okay. I also shared all the council members as editors. You know, so you should be able to edit. Yeah. Do you want me to just read it, or do you guys want to read to yourselves quietly?
Yeah, why don't you read it out loud? Thank
Okay. Dear, and you know, I don't know if this greeting is correct, but dear New York State Education Department, we are requesting that the state tests be suspended this year. We passed a resolution to that effect on August 25th, 2020. The pandemic, COVID-19, has wreaked havoc on communities in New York City with over 42,000 deaths so far, leaving countless people out of work, struggling and fearful. New York City students have suffered significant losses, including deaths of family members and friends and teachers, and summer jobs, and have experienced a range of inadequacy with remote learning and have endured inequity in every area, including food insecurity and air quality. State tests, even before COVID, have been shown to be ineffective in fairly assessing identification of schools and districts for improvement, student acumen, or tailoring education to individual students, and are no longer even required by the state for teacher evaluations due to successful activism on the part of parents, teachers, administrators, and students. There are various alternatives to the state tests which can effectively assess student learning. The millions of dollars that the state spends on the tests can be put to astronomically better use, considering all that is required now to, this is old, reopen school safety for schools, for safe and equitable schools. Now more than ever, teachers will need flexibility in what and how they teach, and to address the trauma of their students without having to worry about their students getting high scores on these multiple choice tests. We believe that schools should spend time and resources helping students with academic and social emotional challenges caused by the pandemic, and put equity at the forefront of decision making. There should be no state tests in 2021. Signed.
Yeah, Karen has a question in the chat. When you say air quality, is that referring to ventilation in classroom?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any comments or concerns? Should there be examples as to alternative? Well, NICEAD probably would not be implementing any sort of alternative at the last minute.
Well, there is already student assessment that happens in schools all the time. And in fact, multiple student assessments, and schools already have switched to a different rubric for teacher evaluation. So in terms of student assessment, there are already alternatives. The purpose of the state tests, as stated on the New York State Education website, is to identify schools in need of improvement. So, you know, this isn't even about students. This is about assessing whether schools are doing a good job. So in general, New York State has been moving away from these state tests as being useful for any of the above purposes. Obviously, identifying schools that are not doing a good job is pretty impossible this year, you know, comparing schools and saying one school is not doing a good job when they may be operating with, you know, wildly different resources, student populations who have been impacted, you know, disproportionately more than other schools. So to say that a school is doing bad job because their students don't score as well on the state tests is just ridiculous. You know, and that is the purpose of state tests. Again, it's not to assess students. It's not to better tailor education toward students. It is to identify schools that the state, you know, basically wants to shut down and replace with charters. But anyway, so there's no way these state tests can serve that purpose, because if a child does not do well on a state test this year, it does not mean that that school is not doing a good job. There's no way you can argue that. Maybe I should have said that in the letter, but
I'm sorry, I'm laughing.
So I mean, is everyone okay? What? I know. Does anyone feel? Well, I didn't put that in the letter. You know what I mean? I took out the whole charter thing, as everyone was advised to do. But does everyone, you know, just so we can vote on it and get it done tonight, does everyone feel okay with retrofitting our resolution, or do you feel like it should be thrown out? We should just start all over again?
Are we voting on this tonight? I've lost bandwidth.
I mean, it would be great if we could.
Great.
Okay. You know, here's the letter. We're all here. What?
I guess was it noticed on the agenda in a way that it's appropriate to vote on it tonight? I'm all for it. I think it's fantastic. I think it's a great message. I like it, but I want to make sure, to the extent that we follow protocol, because this was just brought up in the new. I think we're in new business right now.
Yeah,
it's unusual to kind of vote on something like a resolution in new business, as opposed to just kind of giving people notice that, hey, we're going to talk about this. If you have a problem with it, speak now and forever hold your peace.
Right. I know. Frankly, I forgot
so
the bylaws.
I'm with time sensitive.
No, we can look at the bylaws, but I was thinking this was a letter, not a resolution.
Oh, we still have to vote.
You know, what we should reference our bylaws. I am almost positive that we wrote in that we could do this. I mean, as a best practice, I was the one that was saying we should not. But given the fact that the information only came out a day ago and we only just found out about it today, I mean, we could have another meeting to vote. I'm totally fine with that. The window of opportunity to send a letter is February 5th.
When's
so
our meeting?
Not February 5th.
No.
I think it's February 12th.
Oh, shoot.
So, I mean, we could have another meeting if people are, no, we don't want to do that on Thursday.
You can bring up a resolution in any meeting, like as long as, what was it, 3 people?
Right. It's just the number of people.
Yeah.
This particular thing, only needs to be a letter. We can write a totally separate resolution if we want to. But this is like we're sending comments.
I candidly don't think it makes a difference. It's this letter or statement. It's an action.
It
It's
doesn't.
an
make a
action of the
difference.
council. So,
It's
so it's really whether or not you want to take action as a council in new business with something that hasn't been noticed over the course of several weeks. I think the council has given a lot of indication that this is our sentiment anyway through the course of my experience with the council. I don't think it's jarring. I don't think it's new. I think it's pretty consistent with what this council has said. I do think there's a scarcity of council members left on the phone right now. So you're gonna, if it passes, I think people have left. I know, I'm sorry. I see we're still here.
We have enough. We have enough.
Yeah.
Looking for the bylaws so that I can
My
pull out
only
that.
concern is everything in this letter factual? Have you put any data in here that is?
No, and it's all based on the resolution. That's another thing. Is like this
Okay.
is basically our resolution that we already passed. But no, I did not add anything factual except I updated the number of deaths.
Thank you.
This is based on a resolution we already passed.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I literally copied and pasted it, and then like I changed it because it was about reopening schools because we did it in the summer, so it was all about. So I just changed the tense,
So I guess the only question is why don't we just refer to the resolution and more? I don't really care. I think it's fine, but I think this.
I
is
did in the first paragraph. I said, we passed a resolution to this effect.
Okay, then I support that. I can get behind it.
I'm trying to find the section of the bylaws. I thought I made an awesome table of contents.
Yeah.
Is it under meetings?
I was looking under letter and it's not coming out there. I don't know what's going on with my computer.
Maybe action.
Official actions. I think 3 people have to.
3.2. Page 10.
Oh yeah, so we're all in this document together, so it's not working for me.
Okay. Okay.
I would take out air quality. That doesn't seem to have anything to do
with state testing. Well, it's all about like inequity, how some schools have HVAC and some don't.
Oh, okay. So, well, that requires some more like specific. I would just take it out because it just doesn't.
Okay. It also is.
What are the specific items part of things?
3.2.
Just stay really high level so that it's sort of clean.
You guys take it out. I'm still looking at the bylaws.
I apologize, folks. I have to jump really quick. So if we're going to vote on it, we should vote on it. And if we're going to wordsmith it in a calendar meeting, it's probably not ready to vote on. I think we should just make a decision. If we want to vote on it, we should vote on it. If we don't, then we should move it forward to a special session or the next meeting and miss our window. We have passed a resolution though, so the council has taken action already to state our case. If it's just letting people know that we've done that,
then let's just vote on it. And
it's not letting people know. It's adding it to the official comment section to the New York State Education Department.
Yeah. So in other words, what the action of the council tonight is. Do we have permission to add kind of the action that we've taken to the notice? I mean, the state's website or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that'll be this is an interpretation of the action that we've already taken.
Yeah.
And that's all. We just need to vote to empower you to do that. If this is the language you're going to use to do that, I don't think that's controversial because we've already voted and taken the action through a resolution. And how these words that you put up in there is.
It's just whether to disseminate it, where to disseminate it.
Dissent. And here's the here's the guts of our resolution.
All right. I move to allow Tia to represent our resolution in the before NICEAD in a nice ed comment.
To
second.
cancel the state test.
To cancel the state test, yeah.
Thank you.
I
Does
second.
someone want a second besides me?
Mark is seconding.
Okay.
Oh, are we
Uh,
6? Are we?
Yeah.
I saw Kimberly dropped out.
All right, let's vote before someone else goes.
Okay, so Mark, how
Don't
do you
leave.
vote?
I'm a yes.
Okay, Camille, I'm a yes. Tia,
Yes.
Yvonne,
Yes.
Claudia,
Yes.
Antonia,
Yes.
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 Okay, great. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Who seconded it?
Mark seconded.
Can you guys
Okay, so
put
7 in favor. Yes, you're keeping track of all of these votes, right?
It was Camille, Antonia, Tia, Bess, Kimberly.
No,
No, Kimberly's not
no,
here.
Kevin. Okay.
No camera.
I'm trying to keep up in the script, but there's too much in one.
Vote. Claudia voted,
Yes.
I did, yes.
and Mark and Yvonne.
Yes.
Absent were Kimberly, Katia, and Crystal.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
We're 7 right now.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Maybe in the future, we should write in the chat what our vote is, just so that it's easier later when we're tracking all of this for the minutes.
Mm.
Okay, does anybody else have any new business?
Weren't we, was it about the budget that I had said, should we write a budget letter? Yeah. Oh, right. Just, should we write a letter about the charter situation in Cuomo's current budget proposal? Just bringing it up so that we adequately notify the public before our next meeting. That Cuomo's requiring that New York City reimburse charters if they have to rent space.
Oh,
This
that
is in
was
his
always
new budget.
That
What?
was always the case. We always had, the law is written such that New York City has to provide free space or provide market rate rent on private space. That's
Right.
always been the case.
Right.
We get state subsidies to make up some of the city money, a percentage of the city money that goes to private rent for charters. The state is taking that money away. It is one of the cuts. The state will no longer be subsidizing these rental reimbursements for charters, and
Right.
the sole responsibility will be on the city, which will encourage co-locations. It's specifically written in the budget. The intention is to encourage co-locations.
Right. So I'm saying I would like for us to address that as
Yeah.
council. So I've brought it up now. Maybe we can put it on an agenda, and I will draft something, or if anyone wants to work together on it.
Yeah, I'll work with you on it because it's in
It's
line.
your area of expertise.
It's in line with the statement
Yes.
that I'm supposedly making
Yes.
Thursday.
Yeah, you could just pull it out of your
Yeah, we could
statement,
pull it out of
probably.
there.
Yes. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Karen is asking about access to the link.
What possible flexibilities? You mean the
No, just to get access to one of the links. I'm not sure.
right, I
in
know, but it
regards to-
says additional information on possible flexibilities.
No, what?
Okay, never mind. All right. Oh, so that was my new business. Does anyone else have any more new business?
No, I'm turning into a pumpkin.
Oh, but wait, I have a question. I'm sorry, off of this. Are we done with new business?
I think so.
We were
still
just
have-
asking.
Yeah, mean, we still have like, oh no, we're not done if you have new business. I'm sorry.
No, I do not have new business.
We're all like, are we done with new business?
No,
Okay, for
Somebody
some
else
reason,
asked.
we put a public comment period way at the end, which is
Yeah.
really unfortunate. Members of the public, I apologize profusely. It's 9:30. You are important to us. If you have anything you'd like to say, please let us know. The link within the survey form that is meant to look more
So
information.
the survey form opens up, and within that, it says for additional information about possible flexibilities, please visit. And there's a link in there. That's a dead link.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
in
it's
the
like,
attendance survey.
it's supposed to direct somewhere within the New York State ED website.
No, that's not true.
Okay, so I put that NICEAD link in there, and that is just the page that explains how to submit comments, and I think a lot of it is directed more to school districts throughout New York State. That, you know, the expectation is that school boards throughout New York State would actually be writing to the State Department of Education, because there are actually schools outside of New York City that are still in person. So one of the principals actually brought up to me that if the state would cancel state tests regionally, then New York City would not be obligated to have the state test. Naturally, others might argue that that puts New York City students at a disadvantage. I
Are we
mean,
talking about the link to the ASA?
yeah, is that what we were talking about?
I'm not certain.
I think that's what, yeah. So if you click on, let me repost it. The link that looks like a Google Doc form that's specifically.
Oh, that.
No,
Let
that's
me
not
just-
what I was talking about this link.
Oh, okay. So,
Karen, are you talking about the letter that Tia just drafted? Feel free to unmute. No.
Camille, the link that you just posted.
No,
it-
Claudia's right.
They meant that to be the actual link, but it's just on that Google form where you actually submit your feedback. It's a link in there, and that doesn't work. So the link that you sent, it looks like it's supposed to be the same. Accountability.
This is an email where you're supposed to submit your comments. This is the email.
Yeah, the ASA comments at nisa.gov.
Yeah. The one that you just posted, Camille, works, and it looks like when they put it on that survey form, it looks like they put an extra accountability.
Oh, I see. I see it now.
So it should just be nyscd.gov/accountability - assessment. So they wrote it wrong.
How convenient.
In their form, but yours worked.
Right. So,
Claudia, do you want to just put it up there? Put it on there? Since you got it to work? The letter?
Oh, wait, me? You want me to reference what
Or
specifically?
just someone other than me. We can talk about it later. That it doesn't have to be done in the meeting. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so I'm going to share that letter to the PEP with you guys. You don't have to sign off on it, just an FYI about the proposed amendments to those 4 chancellor's regulations regarding CECs or CCECs. Just so that you know how what's happening. And then please do attend and feel free to speak at that meeting this Wednesday night. CEC members get to speak in sort of like the first chunk of speakers with after students and state elected officials, city elected officials. So if you have anything that you'd like to say to the chancellor or to the PAP, do come. Speaker sign up starts at 5:30 and the public can speak also. You do have to sign up between, I think, 5:30 and 6:15. After that, I think we close the sign up.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the date?
It's this Wednesday. In fact, I put a ton of information about it in the chat. I don't know if you can still see that up at the top. I put the link to sign up, even for speaker comment. Can't find it. Sorry, this is like worst internet connection in the world here.
Oh, I see it. It's 6:59. Yeah.
There were a few of them, one right after the other. And you can read all of the documents on the DOE website if you just search Panel for Education Policy, or I'm pretty sure even if you put EEP in the search engine, it comes up. So the dates for future meetings are there too. I highly recommend going. The chancellor typically gives a report of what's happening that month, like a chancellor's report to the Board of Education. So a lot of information usually comes out of there. It's worth attending.
Thank you.
I move to adjourn.
35. I'll second that.
Who's that? Who was that seconding?
Camille. Okay, so we're Tia, Camille, Yvonne, Claudia, Antonia, and Bess. And thank you, Anita, for staying on, and everybody else who came tonight. Thank you to Saida for running everything here on this meeting. All right, guys, have a lovely evening. Thank you, Executive Superintendent Watts. I see she's still on the call. And Christine, Maggie, everybody, we love you.
Camille, can you just stay on for a second?
Sure.
To talk to me. Okay, so good night, everybody.
Yeah, everyone's
Good
night.
So I signed this New York City Community Education Council District 15, and I email it to that email address, right? Is that what I should do right now? Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Send it to the CEC. Let's send it through that email.
So Saida will do it.
Yeah,
She'll send it in.
We'll just do it tomorrow.
Okay,
Yeah,
Saida
you
will
don't
just
have to
do
do
this
that
tomorrow.
tonight.
Okay. Okay.
I'll just like look it over before it goes out, and then
Okay, cool.
like we'll have all these people we have to copy anyway. So
Cool.
yeah.
All right. Good night.
Thank you so much. All right. Night, night, everybody.
Night.